Hi guys, my name is Jamieka Wilkinson and I'll be presenting What's Left, a Web 2.0 application for K through 6 students on the autism spectrum to enhance algebraic skills. As an overview, we'll go over the background, which includes the details of serious game design in autism and how the two connect, visions of the future classroom, so how will we integrate serious game design into classroom using Web 2.0 tools, and the emerging technology, what's left, and how it connects serious game design to classroom activities. As a quick note, if you have any questions during the presentation, please make note of the slide number and the question that you may have. Also, if at any time you need to pause the recording, please do so and rewind or fast forward the video as necessary. Let's begin. So again, as a background, we're going to go over serious game design, or SGD as it will be referred to in these slides, the elements, learning and developmental theories that are present in SGD, and how SGD and autism connect. So, serious game design, or again SGD, combine educational objectives with specified game mechanics to create a learning experience. And this is happening inside of a virtual environment. And the reason for that is to allow users or learners to apply real life scenarios to the skills being learned. Such serious game design are found in education, so K through higher education. An example would be virtual learning, where students are given some scenarios in a hospital and they have to solve a problem based on different factors. Um, Corporate trainings, healthcare, and military and government sectors. When it comes to learning and developmental theories that are in SGD, we're looking at behaviorism, self determination theory, social constructivist theory, and situated learning. Predominantly, you're going to find situated learning. The top three are dependent on whether you're using it as a cognitive training intervention or if you're using it to reinforce certain social skills. But predominantly, you're going to see situated learning where the learner is placed in a scenario where where they're expected to apply certain learned skills, and that's what you're going to see in the emerging technology that I present. That is more a situated learning. It can always also be behaviorism, or social behaviorism, where most of the recent studies or studies in past research have looked at how can we use serious game design to um, help people change the behavior in certain real life situations. So again, for example, one of them would be if they gave a nursing student a serious game that includes them uh, altering their reactions to certain things that are happening in the emergency room. And so that goes off that behaviorism. Self determination theory is how do students continue to push through um, assignments, what's motivating them. Um, and that's pretty much about the learning and development theories in SGD. Now, what I'm focusing on is serious game design and autism. So, when it comes to SGD, it's been used to develop or to target sensory disorder and language skills in children diagnosed with ASD. Um, and so, with this targeting of the sensory disorder and language skills, it's been used to personalize cognitive training interventions. So, these CTIs, or cognitive training interventions, have been used to improve the language, vocabulary, and mathematical skills. When it comes to the language and vocabulary skills, it's on a social basis. So, one of the biggest characteristics of um, someone diagnosed with autism is the lack of social connection with others. So, most of these CTIs that have been used to target, okay, how can we change the social behavior in this situation? How can we help the the person with understanding basic relationship talk. So, for example, how to identify if someone's happy, sad, how to talk to someone who's happy or sad. So, those are what's been used so far in CTI and SGD. Um, and it's basically to better understand and apply skills to real world applications, as stated. And to me, this is an important way where, or important venture to place in classrooms where we can define the future of classroom that have students that have been diagnosed with autism. Personally, I've seen it where the students with autism um, are not targeted in the classroom. If it's a general ed classroom, they're not typically targeted, and so the vision for the classroom is to say if we do have these students that have autism and they're in a general ed classroom and they're in this mathematics classroom, how can we help them as best as we can? Okay. So, what I propose is a Web 2.0 tool that helps to develop a mathematical game based learning using SGD elements, and it's called What's Left. So, I'll get more into the details of what's left, but this is just an overview. So, in What's Left, we're going to use the Scratch learning environment produced by MIT, and Scratch is a block-based programming language where students can drag and drop blades to create code. Um, it's going to support K through 6 students that have been diagnosed with ASD. However, if any person that has been diagnosed with ASD is having trouble with the basic operations of mathematics, for example, adding, subtracting, multiplication, division, then they're welcome to use the environment. Um, it's going to be based on problem solving word problems that relate to real world applications, and we'll get more into that in a second. And again, it's going to review the 4 basic operations of mathematics: adding, subtracting, multiplication, division. So, how does the SGD elements combine with what's left? So, I broke down every SGD element and a brief summary of it. So, for example, storyline, it's basically about adult giving 2 children allowance for completing their chores, and in the storyline, the students will work through different uh, stages as to how they're applying their allowance to real world applications. And so the learning goal is to determine the amount of allowance the children have left at the end of their day by applying their knowledge of basic mathematical operations. And it's going to go through a feedback and reward system. So the learners are given feedback whether their input is incorrect or correct. So if it's incorrect, it will redirect them with hints. If it's correct, it will solidify their answer. So it will tell them, hey, you got it right. And it will also award them points based on the point based reward system. So that's dependent on the level of difficulty, the more amount, the increase in points. It is important to note that I wanted to keep the point based reward system a positive point based reward system. So if their answer is incorrect, it does not take away from their overall total. Adaptable levels, the level of difficulty increases as the learner progresses through the stages and will provide additional problems per level dependent if it's necessary. So, as I stated before, if the student is struggling with level 1, it's not just going to jump to level 2 once they get it correct. It's going to reinforce that those skills learned on level 1 um, until the student is efficient enough to get to the next level. And choice, in this case, I chose that the students will choose the look and feel of characters' physical appearance. So I found through research that with that choice, students connect to the characters or avatars more, and they're more inclined or motivated to continue to use the Web 2.0 tool or the SGD because they feel connected or personally connected to the character. So in the next few slides, I'm going to go over the basic setup of what's left. It's important to note this is just a rough overview of what it would look like. I have not included the adaptable level session. So meaning I haven't created the levels that will show you if a student gets it wrong, what happens. So this is just a brief overview. So let's get started. Stage one is about addition. So um, the learners are given the allowance for each character in which they will write down. So the characters on the screen will tell them to write down whatever the number is that um, they get from the generator. So it's a random generator that's running in the background, and it will give them a number. So this number will be different every time, and this will help if a learner wants to go back and play through the game again. They won't be given the same number. So after they write down their allowance, the students are being asked to input the total of the allowance. If correct, the students will be rewarded 5 points and instructed to click the space bar. So the reason it's two characters is um, one of the constraints that you will see that I listed later on is the implementation of multiplayer or collaborative learning. So the second character in the game is supposed to make the student feel as if they are working with someone, and so that will help them boost their, or hopefully help them boost their social skills, but also get that collaborative, that faux collaborative learning going on inside of the game. Stage two is subtraction. So one of the characters wants to buy an apple juice and must spend 60 cents. They will need to subtract from their total to get the answer. So what the students will have to do is take that knowledge from stage one and move it on to stage two. Now, I know stage one was a little basic. It was just a recall to get the students familiar with the system and to give them points to get them motivated to keep learning. As we continue through stage two, the students are being asked to calculate how much they have left. And again, if it's correct, it will give them 5 points. Stage three is division, where the characters reach the store and they have to split the money equally. So this allows them to divide the total by half. And if it's correct, they're going to be rewarded 10 points this time because the level of difficulty has increased. Um, and stage four is the multiplication stage. So the characters want to buy 6 apples and fruit snacks. They ask for a price of each the apple and want to figure out how much total they will spend on apples. Students will have to apply the price of each apple by the number of apples they want to purchase. If correct, this will be rewarded 10 points. Okay. So this stage is simply about multiplication. They don't have to figure out what's left because that's going to come into the last step. So the last step is the multi-step, which includes all operations. So they have to take um, the amount from stage four and apply it to stage five, where when they arrive home, they want to figure out how much money they have left collectively. Um, they must use the information from previous stages to understand the multi-step word problem. If correct, students will receive 15 points. Okay, so as you can see, as the level increases, the amount of points that they will receive if the answer is correct, it increases. And again, it's important to note that this is a positive points reward system. So if the answer is correct, they will get positive points. If the answer is incorrect, it would not affect their points. It would just give them another chance to try again. And it also does not decrease the amount of points. So what I mean by that is if the students uses 3 tries, they're still going to get the 15 points, whether they use 1 try or 100 tries. So the benefits from what's left include to improve the applicable skills of socialization in real world scenarios. So um, just doing simple tasks as going to the store and talking to a cashier about the price of an apple could be a challenge to some to some learners, I'm sorry, with ASD. So um, is hoping that this storyline could help them show the interaction between two people in a grocery store. Increase the motivation of the learners. So again, this goes back to the feedback and reward system and how the students has the choice to create their own avatar and grow through the storyline. The students or the learners also engage in authentic learning activities. So in everyday or in most cases, once we do a job, we're provided some type of um, reward, and usually sometimes it's monetary. So having the learners understand the monetary value in life is an authentic learning activity. Optimize the flow by providing immediate feedback. So we want the flow to continue throughout the learning phases. So important um, benefit is the immediate feedback that the students are given. It's allowing them to keep their brain working in a manner where it just doesn't say it's incorrect. It says it's incorrect, but it also uh, targets them to where to go next. What do we do next to optimize that flow? And it's an interactive and immersive learning environment. By immersive, we are referring to allowing and by we I mean me, by allowing the user to immerse themselves inside of the storyline by creating their own character. Some weaknesses. Of course, what's left is only available online using computers that are connected to the internet. So this may be a downplay for, of course, for students whose home don't have access to the internet. It allows users, specifically adults, to sign up using their personal information. So when you go to scratch.mic.edu, you do have to sign up in order to save or share a project. If this is enacted in a real classroom. It could be a challenge with time. It could take a student user 30 minutes to an hour to complete a scene depending on the level picked at the beginning of the session. So let's say a student signs in and signs out and they want to continue on stage 3. Um, Depending on the mathematical level of the student, it could take roughly the whole class instead of it just being an intervention, which is supposed to be 10 to 15 minutes. And incorporating multiplayer options can be difficult. As stated before, it can be a little difficult when it comes to students with ASD because it is a challenge of um, having that social connection with someone. And so, some recommendations that I've found is the use of storylines. So, a lot of the current HDD um, interventions for people with autism lack a storyline, or if it is a storyline, it's very static. So, meaning that they just present the learner with a scenario, not necessarily a storyline that the learner can progress through. So, one of my recommendations would be to use storylines to provide meaningful engagement. Another one would be having adaptable levels to maximize the personalized levels of learning for each learner. Um, so, again, the levels have been very static as one I presented today. It's very static because it's um, just for demonstration purposes. But even when you research some of the adaptable levels in SGD for students with autism, particularly, um, the personalized levels are few to none, and it could be that there could be various factors, but I haven't really researched what the factors are yet. It's just I haven't seen them yet. So adaptable levels would definitely be one that I would recommend, whether it's a student with or without ASD, only because it personalized the learning for the learner. And last but not least, multiplayer options. This will help to increase the social skills of learners and encourage positive competition. So, positive competition was a big term that I kept coming across in the research that I found was that through this multiplayer option that we have, it will it can help students create this positive learning environment where they're trying to be the best. So it can encourage positive competition. Are there any questions? If there are questions, please make note of it on the slide number and let me know through email or feedback through a discussion post. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.